Hello and welcome back to the floor of IAE 2950. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your professor at Galactic Historian. Welcome to our special museum series on the ships on the floor of the IAE. We're doing Drake today, and you may notice I am out of uniform. I'm wearing a Drake shirt and a jacket. And you go, well, Paul, why is that? Well, if you see, my character is generally, I always see them as being from Magnus, from Berea specifically. So I decided I gotta rock the local boy uniform. support the brand and all. So let's talk about Drake before we get to the ships. So Drake was founded in 2845 by Jan Dredge and a team of engineers. They were specifically building a ship that was going to be it was to be easy to assemble on the frontier. Something that could be built fast and efficiently. This was a contest run by the UE Navy to try to outfit forward militia a little bit better. Their entry lost, but they said they felt that they could sell that product anyways. So they formed Drake Interplanetary specifically to sell that product. Then, over the years, they've grown with new ships, doing much better over time, to becoming the 5th largest spaceship manufacturer in the verse, known for being outlaw mentality, rebel. Even their designs are designed intentionally to be more ratchet, as it were. They're supposed to look clunky. That's part of the aesthetic, to try to shake up manufacturing so it's not all smooth lines and perfectness. So Drake's design is as much aesthetic as Origins, just slightly different. Now, let's talk about the very first ship they ever developed, which was the Drake Cutlass. Blanked on that for a moment. The Drake Cutlass. So, the Drake Cutlass was introduced in 2845. It took a while for it to take off, and even though this is the current model, I would like to say that canonically, the model we had before was the first Drake, and this is the evolution of that. But initially, the Cutlass didn't have a designation by it. It wasn't Cutlass Black or anything like that. It was just the Cutlass. But by 2944, two things had happened. One, there was a call for a lot of very specific rolled cutlasses. And because of the simplicity of the design and how easy it was to maintain, it became very cheap. And because the Cutlass was very cheap, it got in the hands of a lot of people, especially pirates and outlaws. So they started to muck up the name, especially since Drake was already embracing its outlaw heritage, being from Berea, being the home of kind of the outlaw culture of the UAE. And as a result, they needed to boost up their name a little bit. So in 2944, they introduced the Cutlass Blue and the Cutlass Red. The Cutlass Blue was designed specifically for police forces, but it also became very popular with bounty hunters, because it not only has upgraded shields and weapons, but it also has, well, I actually don't know if it has upgraded shields anymore, but it does have bespoke cryogenic storage bays where you can hold a ton of prisoners in there while still also having a little bit of cargo. So it is very popular with both local security forces and bounty hunters. And then the Cutlass Red is the ambulance version. It's the first responder version. It works very well for ambulances, as well as being a search and rescue craft. It's become probably the go-to search and rescue craft for the UAE outside of the military. But they weren't just content with building cutlasses, though one of the common concerns, one of the common jokes in verse about the cutlasses, about Drake, is that all their ships are just Drake, but differently sized, or all of them were just cutlasses but differently sized. So the second ship they built in 28, let me look at my notes real quickly because I know exactly when they built, 2871, after the Cutlass's success, was the Caterpillar. Now the Caterpillar was designed to be a modular hull to try to kind of buck that trend, but it even in its design you can kind of still see the heritage of the Cutlass in it. But it was designed specifically to be a hauler, though the modularity was designed to allow for more flexibility. That Drake simplicity, cheapness, being able to build it easy and quick. So it was easier for them to build a ship and then build separate modules for it as long as they had a standard design than it was to just build bespoke ships for that purpose. Though most of the Drake caterpillars are used by the Covalex shipping organization as well as other shipping and trade organizations. Now, the thing about the caterpillar that makes it unique, other than its bespoke, its modular design, these different modulars here, you can see them bracketed by these landing gear, which can be swapped out for other modules, is the fact that this is not one ship. It's actually two ships. The command module here is actually a separate vessel with its own quantum drive and its own jump drive. In fact, the most infamous event that involved a caterpillar was a heist where a caterpillar rammed into a passenger liner, breaching the hull with its front sensors here. Then a team boarded the passenger liner, stole everything they could, went back to the caterpillar, and instead of backing the caterpillar out, because if they backed the caterpillar out, they would cause more damage and or possibly even kill those people inside, but then they'd also allow for those people to try to chase after them if they needed to. They got into their command module and they left. They fled. No one knows what happened to the people who were thieves. This is kind of the Brinks heist of the Star Citizen universe. It was still a mystery because they got off scot-free, because not only does this thing have a quantum drive, but it has a jump drive, so they're able to escape scot-free from their caterpillar. So it's still very popular today in the universe. As I said, Covalex uses them quite extensively, and because they're very cheap, in fact less expensive than a lot of the whole series, they are fairly prevalent in the UEE. Next, we're going to talk about the Herald. The Herald is a Cutlass, both a big engine on it and some server bays. The Herald was developed specifically for a data currying service. The idea was for it to be able to upload and transmit data, as well as carry secure data from place to place. In the Star Citizen universe, there is no faster than light communication. Everything has to go through physical data and be sent through jump points. Now, the problem with that is that it's not very secure to send anything over open wire, as it were, just from relay to relay, because they can be intercepted and processed by unknown third parties. So instead, many people use courier services that use data transfer. So the Drake Herald was built in 2946-ish specifically to do that. It's one of the first ships in the modern UEE to be designed to do this. And of course, it's cheap, it's small, it's fast, it's incredibly maneuverable. Well, not maneuverable, it's maneuverable, but it's incredibly fast in a straight line. So its job is to go from point A to point B very, very easily. So it can transmit and receive. It could possibly even hack other things. It has large data sensors as well. It's kind of like an E-war ship in and of itself. It doesn't have much of a weaponry at all. It has one little gun there. Now, this brings us to the Buccaneer. The Buccaneer was not built in a vacuum. It was built specifically to fill the need, where you have the big heavy hauler of the Caterpillar, you have the data information runner of the Herald, and you have the light hauler / frontier ship that is the Cutlass. The Buccaneer's job was to be the escort for all these vessels. So it was designed around being an escort ship for the rest of the Drake ships. In fact, it has the same speed, almost the same speed, top speed, as the Herald. It can keep up with all of these ships and is designed to complement them. This is a ship designed around the other ships. Designed in 2947 and very, very dangerous. Lots of guns, but it is also, like most ships, like most Drake ships, it sacrifices safety for maneuverability and firepower. None of these ships, for instance, have escape pods, except for the Caterpillar, but that's really not an escape pod. They all have mostly focus in on what they're good at, but that means that there's not a lot of safety precautions with them. Now let's go to the other vessel built around the needs of all the rest of these ships, the Drake Dragonfly. All right, the Drake Dragonfly. So the Dragonfly was built as an open-top racer, actually, though it is also works kind of in between for courier services and for support ships. Most of the ships designed after or around this, well, like I said, it was designed for these things. You can find it specifically at the very front of the Caterpillar. These Dragonflies are designed to go into the front of those Caterpillars fairly easily and extend the range a little bit, give it a little bit of a scouting craft capability. These are rugged ships designed for overland and space travel, though they are classified as racers. They also work very well as kind of snub ships for harassing, for piracy and other ill-gotten pursuits. 2 seats, 1 seat in the front, 1 seat in the back, which can carry, can fire. You also have these saddlebags, which can carry up to 1 SCU of cargo as well. You can also swap out the back of the back person with a cargo unit instead. So it's fairly reliable for like most of Drake, a jack of all trades, master of none. It doesn't have the top speed of other hover vehicles in its same class, but it is very good at what it does, but that's about it. All right, moving on to the ships we currently don't have in verse, but will be coming out soon. Now, ironically, these ships were built all under the guise of a new CEO. In fact, let me go reverse. Well, no, let's just go this way. So, sometime in the 2940s, I don't remember exactly when, Jan Dredge, the CEO of Drake Interplanetary, got into some hot water. She had been the CEO for over 100 years. She was getting old, but she still had that rebel outlaw outlook to Drake. There was a investigative reporter who broke in but managed to infiltrate Drake and got her on tape saying she doesn't care about if they sell to outlaws or not. It doesn't help that something like 2/3 of all pirate activities in the verse are done by cutlasses. So the fact that the question became, does intentionally sell to outlaws? Are they openly selling to outlaws? And they kind of were. So this is a huge scandal, forcing Jan to step down, giving it to her son. And in 2948, he was entirely replaced with the new CEO. Look at his actual name. His new name is, the new one is Andin Arden, who is famous for coming into companies which are failing, flailing, having financial problems or other sort of issues, and then rebuilding their image and building them back up. One of the first ships he approved of was the Kraken. The Kraken takes that attitude of frontier, rugged life, jack of all trades, master of none, and pushes it to its absolute limit. It's also just a big Cutlass with landing pads. Even has the little spars like in the front here, just like the Cutlass. But and the bottom is just a caterpillar, 2 caterpillars slapped together. But the Kraken is designed to be a mobile space station. It works as a mobile home for organizations. It works as a refueling depot. It works as a station you'd park in orbit. In fact, the Kraken Privateer modification is specifically designed for that. So this was built to rejuvenize Drake's image specifically in a way that was more, hey, we are the frontier corporation, kind of treading on the lines of what CNOU and Consolidated Outland and Silas Kerner are trying to portray. They're both being the kind of the outlaw manufacturers, the rebels, the outsiders, with the frontier edge. But that's really what the Kraken is. It's a giant middle finger to the other major manufacturers, larger ships, because there's really nothing like it in the larger ship category. And the capital class ships are all military focused, they're all security focused, and while the Kraken is a military ship, it can do military operations, has a lot of guns on it, it's really not designed primarily as a military ship. It's a little bit of everything. So now the very first ship that CEO Arden decided to do was this. You notice that these all look a little different, and they seem to be a little bit more focused or a little bit more friendly than the previous Drake designs. Even the Caterpillar was kind of a and the Herald were very nefarious, because the Herald could still do data intercepts, and the Caterpillar was still a big ram, still thought of as a assault transport. But these other ships, not so much. The Vulture, Vulture. I can't remember what it is. The Vulture is a salvage ship. It is a solo salvage ship, again, to cultivate that frontiersman style. You're out on the frontier alone, picking up scrap, converting it into usable goods. This is for you, that rugged person who doesn't need a crew. You're just all alone. So this is the first kind of ship being brought in under Andon Arden's tenureship at Drake. And lastly, the most recent ship from Drake is the Corsair. With the revival of exploration in the verse, a lot of people looking forward to pushing the frontier, settling the wilds. The Corsair is meant to tap into that exploration mindset. It is much more luxurious than most of the other Drake brands. The internal the crew areas have their own living quarters. Every single crew member has their own living quarters in that ship. It has a large cargo bay that's capable of carrying exploration rovers like the Ursa. And it has a lot of guns. This is much more of the traditional Drake. It's an explorer, I promise. But, with all those Drake ships out there, it's a dangerous universe, so you need to be protected. This is a competitor to the Constellation. This is designed to be the competitor to the Constellation Andromeda or the Carrack, but at a budget. So fitting that Drake niche of a budget ship for what you need. No frills, gets it done, and maybe a little bit of the outlaw lifestyle. So that's Drake. That's what Drake has brought to the floor of IAE 2950. What do you guys think? Do you like Drake? Do you enjoy this rebel outlaw thing? Do you think they've turned the page with Andon Arden? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this, hit that like button. Remember to subscribe. We're doing this all week. Didn't do it for the first ones, but people seem to enjoy this. So, like I say every time, well, no, let's do it. This is not normal content. This is Galactic Historian content. So remember, Ex Historia ad Astra.